This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to Teach Me Pokemon, the podcast. I'm your host, Cory, and along with my co-host, Jared, we're best friends, been playing Pokemon for a very long time.
Woo! Dang! We are here. Jared. You know, everybody gets to hear our intro every week, but rarely do we get to hear it.
Yeah, we never hear the intro.
So I'm Cory, my co-host Jared. It's Teach Me Pokemon, the podcast. This is Jared, this is a late week recording for us. This is Friday, December 20th here at 11:15 a.m. Central Texas time. I know you're in Tennessee. You just want to give people a bearing here. We're gonna talk through some stuff. We're gonna maybe chat about Japan, and that may or may not be happening as we record this right now. So you and I have to promise not to look.
I'm not looking.
We're not looking. Then we're talking about the Champions League in Japan. So, Jared, you ready to rumble? This is going to be a fast episode today.
This is going to be a Spitfire episode, my friend.
All right, where are we starting?
Well, I want to start last week with what I said about Toronto. I said this will be the tournament where we learn about the future of Regidrago. And we did, Cory. There were 6 in top 8. It ain't going nowhere.
It was awful, man. That's 7 in top cut. I think they went to 12. 12 people, Jared, made the asymmetrical top cut, that's great. That's probably one of the most so far, at least in NA or North American regionals. But yeah, 7 in that top 12, 6 in top 8. I called you earlier, or not today, but earlier this week, and I made a proclamation, and I think it's time. Is Regidrago the best deck ever? Like literally, like it's better. You and I would say, and for our guests that might be newer, our listeners that might be newer, Zoroark GX combined with Garbodor that shut down abilities probably was the best deck ever. I think this might be approaching its level. I don't know.
We were debating this earlier this week, and I said, I just don't know what Regidrago does when a tool lands on that Garbodor, and if that happens quicker rather than later, what can happen there? So you talked about canceling Cologne and pulling things out. There's a lot of intrigue in that deck. I don't think it's the best deck ever. You made a wonderful comment about had it won Worlds and had a certain incident at Worlds not happened, would it be the best deck ever? It's definitely come on strong, but the thing that's going to hurt this deck, Cory, and I think will eliminate it from not being the best deck ever, is because the cards that made it great came online late in its existence, it doesn't have enough longevity to make that determination. This is going to be one of the brightest flames and shortest lived flames in Pokemon history, but it is very dominant right now.
Well, and it's funny because it's a V-Star. Sorry, I'm trying to reposition myself here so you and I are on the same level. It's a V-Star Pokemon. Regidrago has been around for multiple rotations now, yet it never really found its time until it had some friends join the party, and so that's why it's kind of a weird deck in its existence. This isn't like Mew EX or VMAX that just kind of since its inception was incredible, and Pokemon kept printing cards to counter it, and yet it didn't matter, and it still goes on and wins Worlds. So like Mew is definitely up there for sure, but Regidrago just had friends. He had the Dragon Bolt came in. That almost tipped it over, and then Kyurem was enough to get the train going. So yeah, if it hadn't been robbed at Worlds, then maybe we would have been talking about a different light. But anyway, Toronto, Cal Connor. I also told you this earlier. It was a very sad day for him. Even though he won the Toronto Regionals, he was officially kicked out of the Control Stall Committee group. We can no longer have him. Congrats to your win, Cal. It's your first regionals. I understand it's a great accomplishment, but sorry, you are no longer invited to the Christmas party. You will not be included next year. And good luck to you. Hope you do well on your Regidrago because you're not in the control group anymore.
Hey, I think he's fine. You're gonna see him at Worlds one way or another now, and I think he saw the writing on the wall for what was coming for Stahl.
Yeah, I think he did. I thought, if you look at the list, I thought the of the 6 of them that were in top 8, he had the Temple of Sinnoh. I think he had that in there that not many other people had, and I think that ultimately does help in certain matchups, and I think that one was intriguing. I'm not saying that like tipped him over and put him over the edge, but in matchups like Cloth and things like that, which there were 2 kind of creeping up there in top 16. Really though, outside of that, I mean, everybody else, I thought so the one second place, there was a Kaylee that didn't have any stadium. There was one that didn't have any stadium, Jared. I don't remember, but anything else on these lists that stick out to you?
No, I mean, it just is so surprising to me that was I did not anticipate that was going to be at a tournament of over 2,100 players, Cory. That is where that's where we're going to land. Like, it was just like, I thought it would be a little more mid, and I mean, even then it wasn't even over a quarter of the meta share for day 2.
Yeah.
Like, I just think that just shows you how strong this deck is. And the only thing I'm really shocked about is, our Gardevoirs finished 11th and 12th and didn't sneak into the top 8, which means they're going to win the next tournament.
Yeah, which means that you told 100% they will. And hey, correction, I'm sorry. There was no Temple of Sinnoh in Cal. It was the Jamming Tower. I think I was getting confused. The Jamming Tower obviously is very strong in Regidrago.
He had Sinnoh. He had both.
Did he have the Temple of Sinnoh?
Yeah, he had Sinnoh and a Jamming Tower in there.
Am I like blind? Oh, okay. All right. See, I should have just gone with my first point. Yeah. The Guardy will make a comeback. I like the inclusion for the Mawile in the Gardevoirs, because it's like, if you just don't have it, and sometimes with Gardevoir, it's out of your control, right? You don't get the Arven start, and you don't get the Evoluter, and you're just getting picked off one by one. Your recourse is just start to trap things. And I think there were so many games that, like, probably Henry won that he just trapped the Squawk or trapped the Luminion and was just like, okay, do I win now? And I mean, so I thought that was a cool inclusion, different than Kaito's Gardevoir winning list from the previous weekend. But
it's honestly a good time to trap people, because more and more of the top tier lists outside of Regidrago are just not, like we talked about, they're not afraid of stall right now, and they're willing to risk a win here and there just to be better teched for something like Regidrago. Yeah. So it's tough, man. It is tough. It's a tough meta. Personally, I don't think it's fun to see that many of the same deck in top 8. Other people would disagree with me. I know there's a lot of nuance in the mirror match, and people were teching for the mirror match at this tournament. Yeah. But I see no reason for this to keep going strong into our next tournament.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it will be strong. I think the stall decks I think are creeping, Jared. And we saw Hassan here, 6th place on Pidgeot control. We are excited. We mentioned we had kicked Cal Connor out. We have added Hassan in. Hassan has taken Cal's spot because, Hassan, the Baltimore Regional in September, he got 12th on Snorlax. Good for him. And then Toronto here on Pidgeot control. So, he's the kind of guy we want on the committee here. But that, I liked his Kyurem, the black Kyurem build or insertion there that for 3 energy paralyzes any dragon type Pokemon, which not too bad in this format. So he could definitely buy himself some turns there and just keep on paralyzing, which is pretty cool. But anyway, it was fun to see a Pidgeot control there. But yeah, everything else. Oh, there was one other note I wanted to say. What was the third most played deck? Do you remember? I told you this over the phone.
You did. It's our beloved Goldengo.
Our beloved. Sounds like Schmeagle. Our precious.
The precious.
But you know what sucked was it was third. It had like 7% of the day 1 shares. And then day 2, it's like the highest placing was 61.
Yeah.
So what? I never minded the Regidrago matchups when we played in Louisville. I really, going first felt pretty good, especially with the A spec now with the Search Pro. So, but why do you think it did so poorly?
I there's a couple. The two that I think, if one is if we're talking a heavy Regidrago field, some of these versions do not run the Manafi. That's terrible because you'll get Kyremed and then the game is over. And especially now running the Togekiss, it's like you're forced sometimes into a position where is your first 3 bench Pokemon Gimme Ghoul, Togekiss, Manaphy? And if so, sometimes you can't get that next Gimme Ghoul ready to go because you can't risk losing the Togekiss, eventual Togekiss and the Manaphy. So it like really clutters up your bench. And then I'm still a believer. I give Lugia and Regidrago so much crap sometimes because they just can't get up and going. Sometimes, Cory, with the amount of item cards in this deck, you just have the worst opening hands. And that I know that's true of any deck, but sometimes you're even sitting on supporters that just don't matter. If you run Thornton's, you're like, great, I have Thornton's opening hand. If you have Cypher Maniacs, that's not a great turn 1 card unless you have your Pokemon Stadium or if you have your Greninja ready to go. It can set you up for next turn, and then you just fall behind. So this deck is good. It's just not as consistent as Regidrago.
Gotcha. Well, it was nice to see it in top 3 of decks played and then just fizzle out. Charizard was the second. And then Regidrago was first, and clearly Regidrago just goes. Charizard has a just brutal matchup into Regidrago. That's a tough one for Charizard. Cool. Well, hey, congrats to Cal. He gets the win. Regidrago wins yet another regionals. It has the most in top 8 yet again, and I don't know. We just humming along. So, but where I don't think we're going to see Regidrago?
In a place where it all began, Cory.
In a place where Pokemon was born, and in Japan, and in the Champions League. This is like, Japan, Jared, is out for blood this year, I think, in my opinion. They almost won it last year, right? They finished second. I forget the name of the player, but he gets second at Worlds. And I think Japan is ready. They're just cooking right now. So, they go, what was the tournament last week in Perth? It was like basically just might as well have called that Champions League Australia or something. That was pretty much what that was.
Yeah, Perth, top 3 players, Japanese. 4 of the top 8 players, Japanese.
Yeah, so this Champions League Osaka is going to be really, really exciting. The big card that's coming out, that's already out in Japan, not here yet in the States, is the Budew. And it's this little leaf guy, 30 HP, free retreat costs. The thing it does is a no energy move. It does 10 damage, whoop-de-doo, but then it shuts down item cards. It's a little item locking guy that can be put in every deck. I told you this statistic. It was in 49% of all the City League last weekend. It was in 49% of the decks. What the heck, Jared? That's like energy.
Crazy.
I mean, that's like, so who knows? Will it see a big play? It can be countered, but it was in everything. Lugia, Raging Bolt, Regidrago, Gardevoir. I mean, every deck was putting a one of in there just to slow their opponents down. So do you anticipate that card changing what we're going to see at the Japanese City Leagues this weekend?
Not unless the entire strategy is formulated around that card. As a one-off, I'm going to make a very intense statement about it. I think it's one of the best one-off cards ever made because it reminds me a little of Cleffa right now, right, that we have, but it's more strategic. You're going to change the prize map with it, but it's so interesting because it's like, if you could do this move one time a game, what is the most strategic moment where you don't want your opponent playing an item card? Like, it's so interesting. Is it, hey, I'm going to do this right now, and I really don't care if you use your Regidrago V-Star move because you can't use energy switches next turn.
Yeah.
Or like it just seems And I know you can stretch her right now and you can keep doing it, but it was riskier with Banette. It's riskier with Venomoth. You have to build your deck around these concepts. A one-off, free retreat, 30 HP. I feel like this feels more fun because you're going to be dictating to your opponent. Yeah, you may knock it out. I'm not messing with your hand.
Yeah.
You'll probably be able to do 30 damage next turn, but when is this most strategically advantageous to me versus Cleffa, where it's like, I just need cards. I need cards, and I don't want you taking 2 prize cards.
Yeah. No, that's for sure. I think that's more of a, I'm stuck. Let me draw my way out of it. The other one feels like I'm stuck, but let me yank out your Regidrago with no energy on it. It's the V-Star basic or the V basic. And then I'm just going to hit it. And you can't prime catcher. You can't energy switch. You can't switch. Like, you literally have no way of getting that out of there. Yeah, you can evolve into your V-Star. You still can't do anything. So it's going to buy people a turn in a more defensive manner that then can get back into it. What I see happening, which is totally going to suck, but it's going to be Budew to Budew. 10, okay, and then 10, and then 10. And then it's like, okay, now do I get knocked out next turn, or do I just keep the item lock? They're going to Budew each other because they're going to prevent each other from playing items until the other one's ready to go. So that's probably what's going to happen. My prediction, because I think Budew is going to matter here, I think it's going to, is not because I've just been grinding this a lot on live, but I think Kaito's version of Gardevoir, the only real turn where it 100% matters that you have to play an item is going second. And if you need to Vessel for an energy, or Arvin Vessel, or Arvin for Buddy Poffin to get the setup with the Evolutors, you really, after that, you can just keep drawing with Curlias, and then you can Monkey Dory 30 damage onto this Budew and kill it.
Yeah.
I think Gardevoir is going to see uptick here, and Japan loves Gardevoir. I think that sees an uptick in play here. That's my take. I think Gardevoir wins Champions League this weekend.
Wow. No, I think that's great. I just don't know. I always try to interpret what's happening in the Western meta. The Japanese meta, it just feels like it turns off a dime and the rest of the world tries to adjust to it because they have the future of the cards. So I could see this Budew being in, like you said, 49, 50 plus decks. But we will watch eagerly and see how that tournament comes out, especially in a best of 1 format. I love that card. In a best of 3, it feels even stronger because then you know what your opponent has and you can start dictating even sooner.
Sure. What do you have winning? What's your deck?
I sense a Dragapult play. It's not very popular, but Japan plays that deck, as we know, very, very, very well.
Yeah. And again, it's like this Iron Thorns Dragapult deck is currently what I'm on right now on live, and it is good. It is good. It has disruption with the Iron Thorns, but then it has the Evolutor play, so you kind of bypass the rare candies. So if you get item locked, you're kind of fine.
Yeah.
You know what would Budew would have been great into? Xian Pao. Just shut them down. No rare candy, no rare candy back Excalibur for you. But yeah, that doesn't get played anymore. So okay, you're going with Dragapult.
I am. I feel like I think we'll see a strong Dragapult. It just gets around so many things right now. It's in my opinion, it's a very high skill level deck, especially if you're running it with Dusknoir.
Yeah.
And man, Japanese players can run high level skill decks as best as anybody in the world.
Yeah, you're right. All right. Before we move on to educational moment, I have something I'd like to say.
Oh.
Let me click something here real fast. Boop. Okay. Watch on YouTube. Friend me on Pokemon Live at @teach_me Pokemon. Find me. Battle me. I'll beat you. What I'm doing, I'm creating this leaderboard right now, Jared.
Oh yeah, we were talking about this.
We were talking about it. I don't think you believed me, and I have been putting in too much time on this, actually, that I should be doing. And basically, what I do is I get into a match, and I'll record the opponent I'm playing and their elo. And it's not a perfect science. Obviously, I can't track what they're doing after that, but I'm building out my Google sheet right now, and so I have about 45 entries I need to put into it. That'll give me about 50, and it'll be fun to track. And so if you want to stay up to date on this leaderboard, I'll put the link to the drive in the description on our YouTube channel. So you can go click on it, maybe send me updates, comment to this video.
Yeah.
And say,
what do you think about asking our listeners who are in the Arceus Elo part of their experience?
Yeah.
Hey, at the end of every day, if you'll just take a screenshot, send it to us. We'll log it away, and we'll just keep up as much as we can with people and kind of map out that ladder.
For sure. We have an independent law firm that'll be verifying all your entries to make sure they're legit. But no, for real though. But send them in, and I'll update it. If you see your name on there and you're like, dude, I'm at 100 more elo than that, prove it. Friend me and show me. We'll get into a battle. But I think it's cool. We need a leaderboard. Pokemon will probably do this in a month, and this will be null and void, but it doesn't matter. I think it's been fun. And so, the Gardevoir was nice to get to climb. But as I need to, and it's been motivation for me just to get higher, because I got to keep, expanding my player pool. So the Iron Thorns Dragon Pole, if you hit me, you're probably going to find me playing that. So don't be frustrated. But anyway, Stray Collections is our sponsor. They're awesome. Buy cards from them. I got a box of cards that I'm sending you, Jared, today. So it'll be there for Christmas. Stray Collections, his promo code right there. Teach10 on the website, straycollections.com with a Z. Use the promo code, buy some cards for Christmas, and follow us on Instagram, follow us on YouTube, podcasts, all the places, and then friend me on live, and let's track your elo together.
Let's do it. I love it. There it is. Well, Cory, I'm sure along the way you're going to make, Pokemon likes to use the word rivals. Some would call them enemies. And that is what we are going to talk about in our education moment today is enemies. For some of you more in-depth competitive people, you view it as war, and there's no greater book out there than Sun Tzu's The Art of War. And Sun Tzu, if you have studied anything of him, has a very famous quote. I will quote it to you now. He says, "To know your enemy, you must become your enemy."
Oh!
To know your enemy, you must become your enemy. So here's what I'm pitching you today. And Cory, I think you're a great example of this. And I think I need to work on this a little more because I usually find one deck and stick with it, which we're always advocating. How often are you putting together and playing the decks that frustrate you the most? That frustrate you, that you play against? And it's easy to play against them and gain knowledge. You will gain more knowledge by playing the decks that frustrate you the most and learning their ins and out. You can only learn so much being across the table from a deck. You have to become your enemy, play it. Heck, you may even find out you love it. But knowing where their weaknesses are, knowing what they may or may not have in their hand, only comes from picking up the deck yourself. And so that's what I want to encourage our listeners today do in our education is become the enemy, Cory. Become the enemy. If Regidrago is driving you nuts and you feel like you're running into it all the time and your goal is to take it down, become Regidrago for a week. Play it nonstop online for a week, and you will see and understand more of that deck than you would if you just had your friend hop on him. Play me as Regidrago. Just keep playing me.
Yeah. You learn so much on the other side. It's like getting behind the curtains. You actually get to see, oh, maybe this deck is frustrating sometimes because you play it and it's like they always have it. Every time they have it. They Legacy Star, they have Prime Catcher, they have Cologne, they get my Manaphy, and then they Kyurem. Every time I play it, it's like then you start playing it and you're like, oh wait, this doesn't happen as often as I think it does. And so it gives you confidence when you're against it to stay in it. You know, there's so many times I've done Regidrago where it's like your opening hand is like you go second or you go first and you have a squawk ability and you have 2 energy switches. So you're like, okay, well now I got to discard them, but I can legacy star them back. It's fine. So then you squawk the 2 energy switches away. You start playing, and then you legacy star, and then you get the other 2 energy switches. So now all 4 are in the discard pile, and you're like, well, I guess I can get 2 of them back, but then you're done for the game, and then you probably just quit. So it's like, but you won't know that until you get into it and play it over and over and over again. So yeah, what was his name? Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu, he might have been a Pokemon player because that statement is so true in Pokemon. Is like you're frustrated, play the deck. I think the only one, and this is why, and I'm being serious, and this is why this deck always just seems to have an advantage, is people don't want to play stall because they either hate it or they just don't feel like they can do it. And so they don't even practice it. And I think then when you go up against it, it's harder for you to know what to do. I would challenge everybody, hop on it. Just try it. Just try it. You'll see how many times it's really not all that it's cracked up to be.
I am many of my applications into the control stall community have continued to be denied. But I played stall easily for half a season and really, really enjoyed it. And just an example, I ran into stall at the last tournament that we were at in Louisville. In my 3rd round, ended up tying, but I think if I hadn't played it and had knowledge about that deck, that was an easy loss for me. Sure. I really think playing that deck got me my tie. And that's not the perfect idea, right? I want to come out of that match with a win, but you have to sit down and be aware of the meta and the little text and know what it can and can't do. And again, you know, another Sun Tzu quote is know thy enemy. I'm saying become thy enemy. Don't know them. Don't just know them, Cory. Become thy enemy.
Sun Tzu was all about his enemies. Jeez. Know them, become them, befriend them, marry them. I mean, he was probably all over the place with his enemies. I love it. It's a great educational moment. Practice the decks that you don't like going up against. Yep. Perfect. So you're going to do a lot of Shin Pao today?
I'm picking up Gardevoir today. Because it's really making me angry as of late. They're just so Gardevoir players are just the worst because they're just it's fine. Sure, you can. They just like they don't sweat. They just reset stamp.
Yeah, they unfair stamp. They always have. Stamp. I know you're old school. They always have the unfair stamp. Just know
they always have the unfair stamp.
They always have it. Always.
I even saw someone play the cart, that new A-Spec cart, and then they still played unfair stamp after that. They still had it. It didn't matter. And
it comes deck even if you run another A-Spec.
Doesn't matter. It's still there.
That is the best. That is the best. Yeah. Precious Trolley is hilarious. There was a game I played yesterday where I was like playing around them, like prime catchering me. I'm like, play the prime catcher. I know you got it. Play the prime catcher. And they had played Trolley like turn 1. And I forgot. And I was just like, so I ended up winning. And I'm like, why did they never play the prime catcher? Like they had 1 prize left. They had like 4 cards in deck. I'm like, why'd you ever play the prime catcher? And then I was an idiot. I was like, oh yeah, you didn't have prime catcher. My bad. So,
no big deal.
Anyway, so just even if they play Trolley, Jared and Gardevoir, just assume they have unfair stamp. Just assume it. That'll make you a better player.
Yeah, 100%.
They'll still Ono you to 2.
Oh, so for sure. And they can do that like 2 times a turn as well. So, but I am going to become my enemy, Cory. I will be playing some Gardevoir as I climb the ladder, and I think that will help me get some perspective.
Where are you at? How many points are you at?
I'm sitting somewhere. I think I played 2 earlier today. I'm like 370. I'm not even in Arceus yet.
You're getting there. You got like 4 weeks left. You're fine.
So it's a slow burn. I get up at like 7 and try to sneak one in before my kids wake up.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't even always go that well. So
no, that's all right. You're climbing. That's all about it. Friend me, Jared. Oh wait, we already are friends. It's fine. We're already friends. Well, cool. Well, hey, good educational moment. Good episode. Let's see if we're right. If I'm right, I'll send you a box of Pokemon cards for Japan, for Champions League Osaka. If you're right, I'll send you a box of Pokemon cards.
Oh,
So,
okay. That sounds great. Love this.
Love
this game.
Win-win. Searching Sparks. I didn't realize it's in my car right now. I need to literally go and mail it so your son doesn't hate me. I didn't realize how valuable these are. I probably could hawk it on the corner for $500 to some parent that needs Pokemon cards. So you better not hope I run into one on my way over to the.
Don't make the UPS workers or the USPS workers upset either.
I will try not to. All right, Jared, Cory. As always, we'll catch you later.
You can find us at roguemedianetwork.com. Teach Me Pokemon Podcast. Come and dive with us.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.